Hi again, everyone. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is Refuge from Narcissism, and this refugee video is sponsored by contribution from Tanya. And this is Tanya. She's done a few videos. The last one is Daughters of, I'm sorry, Daughters of Borderline Mother Resent Each Other for Life. And here's her story. Hi, Ollie. Tanya here again. You've done several videos for me. Most of them were in the last several months. The first time I wrote was in fall 2015. In 2015 was my first attempt at no contact. This plan failed almost immediately, and from 2016 through 2017, I tried my best to fix the family thinking I was the exception to no contact. There are no exceptions to no contact. There are no exceptions to no contact. Ever. By 2018, resentment set in, knowing I had wasted more time trying to repair and forge relationships with people who are not worth the effort. So starting in 2018, I organically began low contact. I remember a specific comment my mom made on Father's Day 2018 that summed up my people-pleasing and pushover ways. I stopped by on a Sunday to drop off a Father's Day card. As I sat in the living room and my dad opened the card, it was a non-event, and he just chuckled, and he just chucked the card to the side. I remember thinking, why did I do this? Why did you do this? Because, you know why? Because you thought you were the exception to no contact, and there are no exceptions to no contact. After an hour of sitting awkwardly with my parents in the living room, I made up an excuse to leave and said I just wanted to drop off the card. My mom said, "I know you always give cards. We expect them from you, you know." She seemed so pleased with herself saying this. I was disgusted inside and wanted to grimace, but I had to keep a pleasant face. That was the last time I gave any of them cards, with the exception of my two brothers and their family. I despise greeting cards. I despise them. I refuse to give them because they are meaningless pieces of paper. Okay, and in my family, greeting cards were used as nothing more than another tool to, like, well, what is this supposed to mean? Is this how you see me? Fuck you. I'm like, I refuse to give anybody a card ever. Ever. Growing up, I was one of 5 kids, and we were always expected to treat my mom's birthday and Mother's Day like it was a national holiday. This is what Charlene went through with her mother. Her mother, okay, because everything has to be about her, like Mother's Day, like over and above. But her birthday, Charlene's mother lies about her birthday. She's actually like born like the first week of December or the second week of December. And she lies and says her birthday is either New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. So every New Year's has to be about her and her birthday. But it's not her birthday because Charlene saw her license once and said, like, wait a minute, you were born December 8th or something like that. I'm not sure if that's the exact date, but it's something like that. My mom never did anything for my dad's birthday or Father's Day, claiming he didn't deserve it. My dad was the dreamer who resented having children and a wife. Even more so, he resented having a job and supporting us. He neglected the kids by being an absentee father. I've heard the term Disney dad before, and that was sort of my father. He liked toys like a swimming pool, the latest equipment, and boats. I don't blame him for liking these things, but he didn't buy these things for the kids. We only benefited because it was something he liked. He would complain about the grocery bill and why so much money was spent on back-to-school clothes, but didn't think twice about dropping $15K on a farming tractor for a Christian charity in Ukraine. My dad was the guy who loved church politics and was constantly on the phone. He was always doing some charity mission in the church, and other people deserved his attention. His duty as a father was left at the door since it was more high profile to focus on the needs of strangers. We always looked presentable and put together because my mom wanted to show how perfect we were. My dad benefited from this, with people thinking he had something to do with it. I knew my dad was capable of being a father, but looking back, I think he just didn't care. Even with me, who was the only kid that did not fall for my mom's daily dose of bad-mouthing him. He knew my mom was a borderline and unstable, yet he did nothing to protect us. I was the kid my dad would vent to about my mom. Right, and that's what you want to be doing as a kid, is being your fucking parents' therapist. Only to be blamed for it years later. As I got older, and especially once I learned about narcissism, I tried to share with my father all the things my mom did to me. Most of the abuse he missed because since he purposefully was an absentee father. So when I tried to garner support or validation from him, he would cut me off and claim he was the victim. He was so used to leaning on me for support that my feelings did not matter. After I went no contact last year, I had one final sit down with my father after he showed up at my house unannounced. As soon as he sat down, he automatically started bad-mouthing my mom and how he would have handled the situation differently and not break into my house as my mom had done months earlier. I cut him off as he was saying this and cut straight to the chase. For the next 20 minutes, I told him everything I've wanted to say to him and how he did not protect me as a father. He sat across from me at my dining table and his eyes turned black. I don't know how else to describe it. Yeah, because when they look. I call it the glaze. They get the glaze, the narcissistic glaze. Okay, and the most common example I usually can cite with the glaze is somebody who's lecturing you on some ism, whether it's feminism, pitbullism, and they get this dead glaze. It's also when you have a narcissist cornered, okay, and they know you got them cornered, and they go black, the eyes glaze. So either one or two, and when you got the glaze, what usually follows is what they're waiting for is your response. And if your response isn't to capitulate to the glaze, to whatever nonsense they're saying or trying to get, then you're going to get the anger and you're going to get the rage out. He sat across from me at my dining table and his eyes turned black. I don't know how else to describe it. He looked really angry and stood up and said, "I'm not going to sit here and take this." I told him, "Of course you're not. You don't want to hear the truth. I told you I was done, and I meant it." He sat back down. I confronted him about why he teamed up with my mom 2 months earlier and decided to come to my house unannounced. My father would not answer me. When I started to speak negatively about my mom and her abuse, my father cut me off and told me I needed to stop because she was my mother and I needed to respect her. And there's the flip. And there's the flip switch where the mask is revealed. All this time, he's there bad-mouthing your mother, shit-talking your mother when it's about him. Now you've gotten him. You've gotten him into that glaze. And now he's going to make you the bad guy for disrespecting your mother. Fuck off. Get the fuck out. Get the fuck out. I'm done with you. This is why you're not the exception to no contact. No one is the exception to no contact. This showed me he was never going to protect me. In fact, he teamed up with my mother who abused me. He has always been on her team. My parents were so good at using their children as pawns and triangulating us that I never considered they were in on it together. I learned that my father was just as controlling. When I failed no contact in 2016, the people I felt guilty for letting go of were my older sister, younger sister, and my father. My mom was easy to go no contact with, but the rest of these people were in her sphere. And I've told you, anybody who remains in contact goes to, period. They're not your friends. They're not on your side. They don't have your best interests at heart, and they never have, and they never will. There are no exceptions to no contact. Since going no contact in late 2020 and relocating without my parents knowing, the most dramatic person has been my father. His hoovering game is strong. I had been so loyal to him that he never considered that I would one day cut ties. I held on for so long one day, hoping one day to have a father. Instead, it was me helping my father when I look back. In spring of 2018, I helped him with a dangerous tree trimming job all day in the soaking rain. Of course, this was last minute, and his kids are meant to scramble and help. My brother was in the midst of tax season as a CPA, and the other brother had a newborn. My dad was playing the victim card, pressuring my brothers, so I volunteered to take their place. Just like I dropped everything the year before and drove my dad 5 hours to Pittsburgh so he could have a ketamine for his depression. I'm sorry, a ketamine IV for his depression. Well, yeah, I mean, because now your other siblings just use you as the workhorse. They're not on your side. They don't have your best interest at heart. They all need to go. My dad usually got depressed when he burned all his bridges and his plans fell through. This was every couple years. He had been doing this since I was a child. The tree trimming, by the way, was clearing out trees in his backyard for a vanity project. Most Ukrainians have gardens, and my dad's had to be bigger and better for his YouTube content, so he built a large orchard. Did I mention he's a man in his mid-60s, a vlogger? Insert sarcasm. Last June, I was limiting even more contact. My dad called me. He was venting about my mom and yet again cut me off when I tried to share my own story because his troubles were more significant than mine. Then a couple weeks later, my dad calls again, this time demanding I come over and help him tend to his large garden. He claimed I never do anything to help him, so I cut him off and told him, don't you try to guilt me. I was usually the people pleaser, and my dad was not used to me pushing back. I proceeded to list all the times I helped him in the last couple of years. He hung up on me because he probably glazed over again and then raged. He hung up on me. The next time he called, he tried to be nicer but still demanded I come to the house. I really did not want to, since it would mean seeing my mom. I told my dad, why don't we ever do anything I want to do? Do you even know anything about me and my interests? He responded very patronizingly, I know you have a cat. The conversation ended there. As the relation that I know you have a cat. Like, he's just telling you don't matter. You're just a workhorse. You're just a means to please them. All of them. Not just your father, not just your mother, your brothers and sisters too. A couple days after New Year's 2021, my dad stopped by my townhouse that I sold in December 2020 and was greeted by the new owner. My dad spiraled. He was dropping off apples to me from his orchard. My plan worked of relocating without my parents knowing. I know this detail since my parents immediately called my brothers. I had told my brothers I was moving. Why? You shouldn't have told anybody. I also told my brothers not to share anything about me with my parents, which they mostly honored. What's mostly? So they didn't honor it. So if they told them something, they didn't honor it. It's not mostly honored. They didn't honor it. They mostly honored. What the fuck is that? It's like being kind of pregnant. Stop it. Stop it. They mostly honored it. That means they fucked you over in some way, Tanya. Stop being a people pleaser, Tanya. Cut them all out of your life, Tanya. They mostly honored it. No, that means they stabbed you in the back on something. The only thing Mom tricked my brother into telling her was the state I moved to. Ah, bullshit. Tricked him. She tricked him. Right. You believe that? Get the hell out of here. My brother told me my mom burst into tears when she found out. My dad has been spiraling and dramatic. Right. And you know why your brother did that? Because so your mother would burst into tears so he could get his jollies off a little. Because I'm sure he's got his own issues with her. I listened to a couple of his voicemails after unblocking him for a short time. His first voicemail was him demanding that I call him, that I was being unfair. Then he left a warm message about if I ever need help, he's there for me. Then several hours after that warm message, he left a desperate message claiming that both my grandmothers were crying and I needed to call him because my grandmothers were accusing him of mistreating me. I decided I was done with this drama and blocked him again. Thanks, Tanya. And you need to keep him blocked and everyone else blocked. Okay? You are not the exception to no contact. No contact means no contact from everybody. From everybody. Not your brothers, not your sister, not I talk to my brother here. No. From everybody. Because if you keep any contact with them, they're going to stab you and they're going to mostly honor your request. And like, oh, she tricked me. Come on. She tricked him. You're not the exception to no contact. You're not. So, I hope that helps. Thank you so much, Tanya, for another contribution and story. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions or advice in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, something you'd like me to expose, you'd like to set up a Skype phone call, have a private video made, you'd like to sponsor a video like this for someone who needs help and can't afford it, or you'd just like to make a contribution to the channel in general to keep it supported, growing, and successful, because this channel survives 100% on contributions from all of you. Without you guys, all of this goes away. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with the PayPal and email links in the description box. Also, please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been Refuge from Narcissism. Take care.